When they decided to do the Mama's Family show, they asked if I would do it because I guess Joe Hamilton produced the first one, and I knew Joe. I'd worked with him as a performer as well as a producer. Joe was a singer on the old Dinah Shore show, and they asked if I would take over the show because Bob didn't want to do it. And part of the agreement was that Bob would get credit for original concept of costumes, and I would get show credit. And that's how it all started. And that was the job of a lifetime. It was a terrific cast, and it was a fantasy world that we lived in. It was a time-stopped show. I mean, what I designed on that show had nothing to do with what was going on in the world in that time, but it was like you were in this town where it had stood still at a certain point, and that's where it stayed. And I don't remember ever being told that something wasn't right on that show. They loved everything that I did, and it was great working on the show, and I had a good time, and it was not very hard work, and they paid me. I loved doing the show, and I wish it had gone on for a couple more years. Not too many of the characters that we had on Mama's Family were the same ones that were on the Carol Burnett sketch, Mama, of course. I used the same basic concept for her clothes always. But the rest of them were all new characters for, we did not have Harvey on, for instance, as Eunice's husband. We had Eunice on a couple times. Carol made an appearance a couple times as Eunice, but we didn't have any of the rest of the cast on from the old Carol Burnett show. It was all new cast. Ken Berry playing the son, and I can't remember the young lady's name who played the wife.
Dorothy Lyman.
Dorothy Lyman, who was wonderful. I loved Dorothy. And the next door neighbor, they were all wonderful. And we had a lot of guest stars on that. I had a good time. And everybody I did in ridiculous looking clothes, and everybody that came on had a good time getting their image changed completely. Well, when Bob did the costume originally on Burnett, Vicky was a very young girl, and Bob did this matronly body for her. And I believe the first dress was probably a dress that was bought somewhere and altered to fit the body. And then they put the wig on Vicky, no makeup. She never wore makeup for it. Put the glasses on, and she did it. It was that simple. She came up with I don't know whether she came up with the voice because I was not on Burnett, or whether somebody gave her the voice, but she just did it. Mama on Carol Burnett's show was much more vitriolic, much meaner character than she was on Mama's Family. The character really couldn't sustain being that hateful on a weekly situation, so she softened a lot, which I think some people thought was a loss, but it worked. Listen, we were on for, I believe, 5 years. The first year, I believe it was NBC, and they were actually ashamed, I believe, that the show was such a hit on the network. They were hiding it.
Did the characters portrayed by Dorothy Lyman and Ken Berry and Iola character and all that, did you help to create those with the costumes?
Yes. Iola, I gave her little flip hairdo and her little gingham check dresses. Each character on that show had a specific color. Mama was always in lavenders. Vicky, Naomi was yellow. That was her primary character. And Iola was always in pinks. And Bubba, the son, was always in green. It was just something that I came up with. And I would keep it somewhere within the range of that always. I was not aware, nobody was aware of it but me, but that was part of the game I was playing. I searched and searched for different types of pink fabric to make Iola the same dress every week, just a different fabric. Same way with Mama. It was always the same dress, changed a little bit, but basically the same dress. Ken Berry, I had known since he was literally a child, and Ken's theory in life was that he would never work again. No matter what he did, he would always say, well, I'm sure I won't be back next week. And he was terrific. He was very, very sweet man, and very talented, terrific singer, dancer, which he never got to do on that show. Dorothy had come from a soap opera, and that's probably the character I had the most trouble coming up with, because originally she wanted to be very tough. She wanted to be a Western girl, wear jeans. And then after we did the first week, the writers and producers didn't like the look and didn't like the way she looked, and I came up with the kind of off-the-shoulder, floozy look. And once we came up with a look, she was fine. She went along with it. But she had been the other character for so long, it was it was hard to break away from it. And
You mean the character on All My Children?
yeah,
Opal?
Opal,
Right.
yeah. And Vicky was always Mama. As long as her shoes were comfortable, Vicky was fine.